Let's get into Nate's nerding out. And Nate, we're talking about some possible wide receiver trades here. Very exciting stuff. The internet is abuzz, especially today with Jacoby Myers rumors. They're swirling out there. A lot of potential trade candidates out there. There's Calvin Ridley, maybe the Saints, Chris Olave, or Rashid Shaheed. The Dolphins with Jalen Waddle. That one seems kind of crazy to me, but we'll get to that. Let's start with Jacoby Myers. I know you and I both have some separate sicko thoughts about these Raiders wide receivers. So I think Nate, you can heat check me on this. I think of all these dudes here, Juwan Jennings I also want to throw out there, and DJ Moore are a couple like maybe deeper names that are just on my radar. But Jacoby Myers definitely. I think is the one that is most likely to get traded is Jacoby Myers. Yep. I would say of all these guys, he already put in a request last year, the contract, former regime acquisition, and this team's going nowhere this year. So Jacoby Myers, thoughts on him, potential trade candidate, and what he's leaving behind in Vegas.
It seems like the writing's been on the wall about this. Like you said, trade requests, just comments in the media, just very non-committal to the team that is the Raiders. Jacoby Myers is just a nice, and I mean this because he's fantasy relevant, but just like he's a dirty work guy. Like he is useful. Actually, he's a good definition of useful because he can play in the slot. He can be outside. I prefer him more in the slot as a physical slot type. But like when he was with the Patriots, especially, when he would be on the outside, he's a really good, I know again, this is fantasy, but he's a really good blocker and a really good, there are some detail stuff that can help out with in the run game. And I think passing game wise, he's just kind of a nice secondary option. Like, of course, you want some speed around him and everything. He's really like a classic Z, more of a, and I'm not sure if the stats actually match this, like good kind of like working in combinations with other guys, good feel for space. So teams that maybe don't need team speed, but need more physicality at the running back or at the receiver position that also can kind of do a little bit of everything. The Steelers, to me, are like the easiest fit for Jacoby Myers. Just his play style, what he can do, because he can be the second. He can be the Z opposite DK Metcalf. If they go 3 wide, he can be the slot if they want to run out of that. He can be the lone receiver if they want to do that because he's a willing blocker. And I just think that one matches because they need desperately a second receiver. Aaron Rodgers barely even throws it to the receivers outside DK Metcalf. It's a lot of tight ends in that offense. Jonnu Smith is basically the slot in that offense. So like him is just like the easiest fit for me. The other one is like the Jets because they have no bodies 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 at the receiver position right now. And actually the other one was Titans, but that one actually is like that felt worse as I marinated on it because it's like why? Yeah. Like why would you do that? But it's sellers. Also the Titans. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So that one I would just want to cross off already. And actually a low key one was the Falcons. As far as like I actually think he's a good scheme fit for them. And also just like they're playing musical chairs with the receivers, it seems like. And he's not samey to Mooney. He's better than Ray McLeod. He can complement Drake London very well because they can both go inside, outside. They can kind of inverse on each other. So actually that was a low-key one that I was like, I actually like that fit a little bit more as I kind of marinated on it.
I dig that, actually. I hadn't thought about it. And I don't want anything to interfere with Drake London 10 targets per game agenda. So maybe on that, maybe on that, I'm a little going to hesitate there. But they do have some weirdness in their wide receiver room. I think you and I talked about this when we broke down the Falcons about kind of their not so cryptic, kind of shady comments towards Darnell Mooney, and then Ray McLeod. He was like a healthy scratch last week.
Scratch.
So
that's
So I mean, there's something up there in that wide receiver room, and I mean they're going to not be that throw heavy. They're going to try to run the hell out of the ball, and again, like Drake London in 12 personnel is just going to get targets.
Yes.
They could definitely use some depth though. That's for sure, because like Drake London was truly the only wide receiver that caught a pass on Monday night. I'm not sure what the Bills thought was going to happen, but I guess they didn't think Drake London was going to get a bajillion targets. I'm not sure where they were with that one, but yeah, I think that's a good one. We threw it up on the YouTube chat where the most likely one or the best one was the Bills. I just don't know that he helps them. He gets open, which is great. They don't have dudes that can get open, but they need more of a perimeter speed guy, and I don't know. Yeah. Like
that's just don't get me wrong. That's more what they got. he's kind of samey to what
better
in some
version.
ways to what they got. Yeah. So I'm kind of
better version
they
of
need some
Josh
different.
Palmer. Better. It's like
Yep.
He's sort of like a better version of Josh Palmer with a little Khalil Shakir sprinkled in there, just because of like the quick hitting routes. So yeah, that one doesn't make a lot of sense. I'd actually, of the three we put up there, Steelers, Giants, Bills, the YouTube chat. Which, listen, YouTube chat, you're very smart, and I'm not ripping on your football knowledge.
You guys, I didn't even think about
but
that. So
yeah. I'd honestly flip it around though. They had it Bills, Giants, Steelers. I'd have it Steelers, Giants, Bills in terms of most likely to happen. Now, obviously, best fantasy spot, he's playing with Josh Allen. That would be awesome. But I like your Steelers analysis there. I definitely think that makes sense. I would also say Giants-wise, to me, Jacoby Myers' two best routes are just like the in-breakers. Quick slants, digs, some crossers, stuff like that. And if we're running this RPO Jackson Dart offense, a guy that can just get open quickly on that, and like we're just getting them on quick hitters. I don't think they really have anyone like that now that Neighbors is not there.
And even when Neighbors comes back next year, I know Myers' contract and all that's going to be up or anything, but you usually trade and try and maybe get a 1 year, depending on the team. It all depends, on the team. But say they wanted to bring him back, he actually has good synergy with Malik Neighbors. It's actually a kind of a fun duo that maybe I didn't even think about. No, I honestly, the Bills one, I kind of rolled my eyes at, but it's like now I'm like, actually, it would be pretty sweet in that offense because it's not what I want for them. There's other guys we're going to talk about that I'd prefer for the Bills, but that's the one where I'm actually like, no, it is what they like. I mean, but it's just more what they have. It's a hat on a hat. Even if I do like Myers would do great in that offense, I guess.
Yeah, for me, though, I think the Bills are clearly in their own head and like overcorrecting for the Stephon Diggs era. And I also think they're going to overcorrect for the Amari Cooper flame out last year. It's like, well, we couldn't have we got to do everyone eats. We can't do number one receiver. We got to do everyone eats. It's like, well, we traded for a receiver midseason last year. We can't do that. It didn't work out for us.
We're pot committed.
I think, we're pot committed. So I think they might. I don't know. I could see them passing. They've overrated their room to this point. I could see them overrating their room again this year. So we'll see if they end up making a move. Hopefully I'm wrong about that. But I think Myers is, again, the most likely guy to get moved. So if this does happen, let's try to get ahead of it from a fantasy perspective and just general perspective here, Nate. What does this offense look like if there's no Jacoby Myers, who, by the way, I mentioned this with Ray yesterday, did like a wide receiver over and underperformers article. Excuse me, I did underperformers earlier in the week. I'm writing overperformers later this week. Just looked at like combination of targets, air yards, red zone targets. Jacoby Myers, in all those volume metrics, looks really good. He should be much better than he is so far. He's like 23rd in the combination of all those metrics, but he's the wide receiver 39 in fantasy. And I think a lot of that has just been the Geno Smith stuff, but still, he's got a lot of usage in this offense. So if we remove him, what does it look like in Las Vegas?
Well, I don't know. Anyone could be really consistently good right now how Geno's playing. And this is someone that's always been kind of like, I don't know. I'm kind of mid-tier on Geno. I mid-tier plus on Geno. Like, I like him, but I also thought some people got out over their skis on him a little bit last year or two.
Would you call yourself a Geno-centrist?
Yeah, Geno-centrist would be a good way to put it. I'm Brock
just
Gnostic,
left or right of
and I'm
center?
a Geno-centrist.
Yeah.
No, it's but right now he's not playing good. Well, having said all that, he's not playing good. It's not some unluckiness. It's not some anything. He's pressing. He's not reading the game well. I don't think he's turtling when he shouldn't turtle, which is so weird for him because he's a guy that will stand there or rip it. Just seems really uncomfortable right now. And I actually, when I watched that, I know the Titans aren't good, but the Titans D-line can get after you. They still have Jeffrey Simmons, who is a freak. And I actually thought the Raiders O-line was okay. Like, it wasn't the worst in the league. I have seen worse this year. So it's like, and I've now watched 3 games of Raiders on film, and I would that's my assessment. I'm not saying top 15, but it's not the worst thing in the league. And so I'm like, okay, all right, what's going on, Geno? The offensive structure with Chip Kelly is kind of a little, the passing game isn't very advanced. It's more just, hey, they're winning with formation stuff. There was some improvement lately. So I'm keeping my eye on that, but we'll see. But when I watch that offense, Trey Tucker seems to be the one getting the good targets or getting the ones that they want the ball to go to at times. He got an underneath throw on 3rd down. Just a lot of stuff where they're using him like a real receiver. And I noticed, especially in a game against the Titans, there's a lot more okay, Jack Besh is out there. All right, Besh is the X here. And we have Tucker and Besh on the same side here, even though Jacoby Myers at times should be inverse of that. They flop their spots. And that kind of stuff is always curious to me. Like, why are you lining up guys in certain spots? And that's, again, where you're trying to read context clues, like how they like certain guys. And to me, if I just watched the Titans game, I'd be like, oh, they really like Trey Tucker and Jack Besh based on how they use them right now. So even without this Jacoby Myers discussion, because yeah, he had catches and all that stuff, but it just seems like how they're using them in some personnel wise and just formation wise, which is interesting to me. I think the run game's getting there. They're figuring out that they're a zone team. I think Ashton Genty's best runs have been on zone. I have not looked at the stats on this, but just eye test. So they're figuring out what's kind of working for them. Bowers coming back is key to all of it. But I do think it is interesting how they're using Besh, because they're trying to kind of what we thought when he was coming out. It's kind of he can kind of do a little, he's a good blocker. He's good horizontally. He's got good hands. And I do think a good feel for space. So I'm kind of interested, like if in this hypothetical Myers was gone, how they would potentially use him a little bit more, because they're liking Tucker. Like they're having Tucker dig out safeties in the run game. So they're not just going like, hey, you're a small guy and we're going to hide on these like go routes. They're treating him like a real receiver, which is really interesting to me fantasy wise, because if Myers is gone, who else is the ball going to, especially if Bowers is banged up. So, all right, I can keep going, but Michael Mayer too actually has looked nice. Is filling in for Bowers as well. He's a solid tight end. So they're just figuring out the personnel. It's not the worst thing I've watched, like, when I watched that Titans game back today. But I will say that it's like Geno is not playing well. And I will kind of like be firm in saying that. And that's really hindering a lot right now.
Yeah, it's just going to be tough for any of these guys with Geno playing this way. That being said, if we do remove Myers from the equation, that clears some of the things up for the younger players here. Real quick before getting back to that, you mentioned the zone versus man splits for the run game. Again, this is from Fantasy Points data. They're dead last in the league, 2.35 yards per carry on gap runs, and they're like 4.6 on zone runs. So definitely they've been much better on zone. The success rate still stinks, but they've at least gotten some plays there. Whereas
all their good runs were zones. Like for 3 games I've watched them, every good run has been zone. It's been I do not remember a good power duo run in this offense. Maybe one.
No, haven't seen it yet. But so these receivers. One, I want to echo what you say about Trey Tucker, that like he, number one, if you're from a fantasy perspective, even in a terrible offense like this, and this has been a terrible passing offense, if you're just out there all the time, you're going to have weeks. And he has obviously had that one monster week where he's 140 plus yards, 3 touchdowns, but he's at least had some viable moments otherwise. Now he's had some sub 20-yard games, but still you're going to have some moments. He was kind of like the laughable, the slappies are going to pick him up off waivers after 140 yards, 3 touchdowns, but he hasn't had games like that, but he's at least had some moments. So in good matchups, like against the Titans, you can at least play him and it's not embarrassing. Cause I agree. They're trying to set him up on a lot of these crossers. He works well against zone coverage. As you've pointed out, he is fast. He's very fast. So like when he hits that break point on a post or a dig route, he's going to be open. Like he gets some separation there. So I like that about him. Definitely like a real receiver.
As a joke. I'm going to be honest, Matt. I liked him, but I was like, yeah, whatever. He's just a guy that's going to be fun to watch because he's useful, yada, yada. But like, he's way better than when I was saying him. I'm not going to act like I knew that he would look like this year. So I do want to like retcon even my own take. It's like, I liked him, but like, this is like real receiver stuff. Like I wasn't projecting that. I thought he was just gonna be like, a fun little shot play guy. Who the Falcons had a little short guy that he was a deep ball guy when they were cooking in like 2016, 2017. That's what I was picturing.
Taylor
in my
Gabriel.
Head. So sorry to cut you. Yes, Gabriel. So that's kind of what in my head what I was picturing, not this. So like, yeah, it's been fun to watch. I'm going to be honest. It's been fun to watch him be like a real boy, like a real receiver. So yeah, sorry to cut you off again, but it's been one of my, on a stinky offense, been one of my more fun things to watch, who had a top 10 pick at running back. Like that Trey Tucker has been one of the highlights of the Raiders offense for me.
Taylor Gabriel once slid into my DMs when I was working at NFL.com. I wrote some article about like top 10 receivers to pursue in the 2017 to 2018 offseason, and this was after that crazy year for him. And he was not one of the top 10, and he was like, I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna make it up to you. I'm gonna prove you wrong. Like all this stuff. I was like, dude, I don't think anybody read this article except you, apparently. So,
Every time about
shout out to
Kendrick
Taylor
Bourne,
Gabriel.
respond years ago. Responding, I had a thread about him being like a sneaky free agent, and that's when the Patriots signed him. And so I did all these like red zone third down breakdowns of him. I was like, hey, this guy just like gets football. Like he's like a solid player. I'm curious who signs him this offseason. It was the Patriots. And I was like, you gotta be kidding me. But it was, but when he quote tweeted, he goes, send this to my agent. Thank you, Nate.
There you go. Unfortunately, he sent it to Bill Belichick.
Yes.
Well, you know what? It worked out for you. He's kind of doing the damn thing.
It worked out great. I know. Yeah, I know.
He's going to influence one of our takes here in just a minute. But lastly, just point on the Raiders, I want to just point out, Jack Besh has run a route on 80% of the dropbacks last week, which was, it's about time. I mean, you know me, Nate, I'm not usually the type to like slam teams and be like, this is stupid, this is a mistake. I try to like get where they're coming from on some of this stuff. This was one, and I kind of unloaded on this situation on reception perception, where it's just like, this was just you galaxy brained this. You overthought it from the beginning to play like 4th round pick Dante Thornton from freaking Tennessee as your X receiver every snap, because they were just like, we speed. We need more speed on the outside because our run game, this, that, and the other. It's like, no, you need a guy who's going to help you hit singles and doubles. And I realized Jack Besh didn't do anything when he was on the field, like from a production standpoint, but I think he looks pretty good out there. He looks like he belongs. I do too. Like, I think they need to get him like so again, like deeper leagues. I picked him up in a couple deeper leagues. You know, I have him on dynasty rosters already because I liked him as a prospect, but he definitely fits in this receiver archetype where you want that toughness over the middle, grounded through the catch, all that stuff. And then you have another guy in Trey Tucker who can stretch the field out. So I'm open to, again, it's the Geno Smith offense. We'll see. But I'm at least open to the idea of something happening here in Vegas with some of these like deeper sleepers. So like that's a real sicko breakdown of the Raiders wide receivers for the people out there. Real quick before we go to break, Nate, these other sort of just trade candidates, Olave Shaheed, Jalen Waddle, Juwan Jennings, DJ Moore, any sort of fanfic for you with one of these guys that you want to throw out there?
Oh, no. Well, I mean, any of the speed guys for the Cardinals, like, just please open up that offense, please, somebody. But I'm also, the Cardinals are banned right now for me talking about them. So I've kind of like taken that away.
You're finally on my side.
Oh, screw them for at least a couple weeks, and then we'll see. I'll check back in on them. The timeout. That's a good way to put it. Yeah, 5 for fighting. I would say Olave is so interesting to me because him with the Bills, that one I dig. Because he is so different than what they have, and it makes sense because he is, I think, a great deep ball guy, a great catch and run type of guy. Still think he's a great route runner. It's just kind of like, he's a little skinny, and so I see why the Saints are trying to move him. I don't know. I was saying this to you. I was like, there's something off with how they're using him and what they want out of there. I mean, they're training for Vele and our guy, I don't even want to say his name, Jalen Polk, but those guys are more physical blocker types, so. He's kind of in the timeout list for a while too, but those are ones that I'm like looking at. Yeah, like Cardinals needing speed is one. Bills needing speed is another team that I'm like, hey, Rashid Shaheed I think should get paid after the season, because like I just think he's really blossoming into another guy that's a speed guy that's turning into a real receiver. So I've already kind of listed the teams that I think the Patriots are kind of taken off the table for me. I think I kind of like what's going on with their room right now. So I'm not like, I don't even think the Patriots, I'm like, so that's one I've like originally, if it was 3 weeks ago about Patriots, now I'm like, I actually kind of like what they're doing right now. If they really want a speed guy, but I think they're investing in Kyle Williams. So I don't see that as much. So Titans, if they want to sprinkle in some talent, like just because they need something, but I feel like they're just a aimless team right now. And other than that, though, I want to be surprised because there's a lot of teams I think they like what their receivers are at right now. Like Seahawks could have been one a couple months ago, but now I'm like, I actually like how everyone's slotting in right now. Cooper Kupp is the dirty work guy. Torrey Horton is the speed guy. So I almost want to hear your answer on this, but I think I went long.
No, I think there's more sellers than buyers than based on what you said there. To me, right now. That's why. Yeah, there are some bad teams. to me, Olave, I'm kind of both minds. Like, I really like the way he's been used in New Orleans, and I think him and Rattler are close. Like, they have really good chemistry outside the numbers and on outbreaking routes. Yes. they're not on the same page over the middle of the field. And I don't know how much of that is a Rattler thing versus like if I'm calling balls and strikes on a player that I do really like, Olave's just not been good in contested catch situations so far this year. And Rattler seems like a guy who wants to give his dudes chances in contested situations. It's like, Olave, I think, has the talent to get there. He has the ability to get there. He just hasn't got there yet. So I almost kind of want to, and if I'm New Orleans, which God, I don't want to get in the brain of that franchise, but if I'm New Orleans, like you got another 2 years with Olave here, you're probably not in a rush to pay him. I kind of want to see what that looks like over the course of the year. Whereas Shaheed, if I'm dealing one, I like Shaheed. I really, really like Shaheed. But he's a guy that is on an expiring contract that you're probably not paying this offseason, and I think you could get a decent bid for him. So, he's a. I mean, they would never deal in the division with Atlanta, but he's like a guy for the Falcons that would open up some of their stuff there, but they're not going to do that deal. So
even the Panthers too. The two teams I actually like, because I mean, even I know as much as we love Jimmy Horn Jr. on this show, they're like, but either of those guys would kind of open up. They have so much invested in receiver, though. I don't think they could justify trading for another guy. Just throw first rounders and more draft picks at it. That'll help it out, right?
Yep, and yet your best guy is the undrafted free agent. No, Tedero McMillan's probably better than Jalen Coker, but Coker is awesome. He's coming back this week. So Coker's awesome.